That which brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside, where strangers are as family and loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love. Love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. I've walked these mountains in the rain. I've learned to love the wind. I've been up before the sunrise to watch the day begin. I always knew I'd find you, though I never did know how. But like sunshine on a cloudy day, you stand before me now. You must give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born in fire. It's planted like a seed. Love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. Love comes when you are ready. Love comes when you're afraid. It will be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. You must give yourself to love. Love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Welcome to People's Church. We know you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, perhaps to find answers to some of your bigger questions. We welcome you. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope you will find comfort and connection, challenge and love here. We hope you will find ways to provide outreach to others in our congregation, in our community, and in our world community. Those are words by Marilyn Polkowski and reflect our views here. We welcome you, especially if you are joining us for the first time. Please remain online at the end of the service and you will be slotted into a chat room where you can meet and talk to other members and visitors. I'm Bob Davis, a member of the Sunday Services Committee. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. The mission of People's Church is to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. Our minister, the Reverend Rachel Lonberg, has just started a much-needed sabbatical, which will last until July 15. If you have ministerial needs, we have an outstanding backup team available by contacting the church office. This is a church that believes in taking actions to support its values. So it gives me great pleasure that this week's service is led by members of our highly active Social Justice Coordinating Committee, led by Ann Feldmeyer. Now join us in our introit. Every week, we light a chalice at the beginning of our service, symbolizing the creation of sacred space as we focus our thoughts on today's service, putting aside temporarily our daily lists, worries, and cares. If you are willing and able to light a chalice now, I ask that you enter into the chat box where you are lighting your chalice, whether real or symbolic. And now we have some words read or performed by Cynthia Landrum, performed by Maddie Lee Little Gardner and Fiona Murray.
And I'm Black Widow, who, mindful that with great power comes great responsibility, we light this chalice in the hopes that in brightest day and in blackest night, our faith will flame on.
Hello. Today's story is called Today I Will Fly by Mo Willems. My children and I recorded this story about a pig who hopes today will be the day that she flies, and who learns that help and perseverance are big helpers when it comes to hope. Today I Will Fly by Mo Willems. Today I will fly.
No, you will not fly today. You will not fly tomorrow. You will not fly next week. You will never fly.
I will try. Goodbye.
You will not fly. She will not fly.
Fly, 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 fly. Fly, 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 fly.
You need help.
Thank you. I do need help. I will get help. I did it. I flew. Thank you for your help.
You did not fly.
I did not fly.
You jumped.
I jumped. It was a big jump.
Yes, it was a big jump, but you did not fly.
I will try again.
I will eat lunch.
Goodbye. Fly, 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 fly. Oof.
You need help.
I do need help. Will you help me?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello!
You are flying. You are flying today. My friend can fly. She can fly.
I am not flying.
You are not flying?
I am getting help. Thank you for your help.
Tomorrow I will fly.
Hello. For today's meditation, I invite you to begin with some deep breaths by Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. And breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. And breathing out, I know that this is a wonderful moment. As we take a few moments to settle our minds, our bodies, and our spirits this morning, I invite you to reflect a bit on the many losses that so many have experienced over the past year. Losses in relationship to the pandemic, those who have suffered, been sick, those who have passed, and those who survive to remember them and grieve their loss. And let's take a moment to just acknowledge the many losses of regular activities and things that were important to us over this year. Being with people, educational, relational, family celebrations, milestones, separation, connection and community. We've all experienced a variety of changes that have hit us all in different ways, but we feel the effects nonetheless. And as we feel that in our bodies and in our hearts, we invite a gentle noticing with curiosity, a settling. We invite those things to move through us while we grieve the losses and honor and acknowledge the changes. This past year, the deaths due to gun violence in Kalamazoo has increased massively. And let's take a moment to just acknowledge those who are suffering in ways that many of us can't comprehend. The losses due to gun violence, the people who mourn and grieve those who were lost in what seemed to be such needless and senseless ways, and a system that doesn't support justice, especially for marginalized communities. Let us just take a moment to acknowledge the suffering and the grieving and the loss, the many losses on so many layers in ourselves, in our families, in our community, in our communities. And now I invite you just to breathe out whatever has arisen in you as all these different losses have been named. Invite a moving through of the grief and the sorrow. And then invite some loving kindness and some compassion, some tenderness. Invite that into our own hearts. And as we breathe out, let us send that forth out into the world to all who are experiencing the sorrow and the grief and the losses of this time. And now let us just take 3 deep final breaths to be present with whatever is true for us in this moment. Namaste.
You may know of Brian Stevenson. Perhaps you read his book, Just Mercy, or saw the movie. As a lawyer, he founded the Equal Justice Initiative in Alabama, which has won major legal challenges for people unfairly treated in the criminal justice system, and created the National Memorial in Montgomery to honor thousands of victims of racial lynching in the United States. A few months ago, I heard him speak these words in a radio interview with Krista Tippett. He said, "I am persuaded that hopelessness is the enemy of justice, that if we allow ourselves to become hopeless, we become part of the problem. I think you're either hopeful or you're the problem. There's no neutral place. We've been dealing with injustice in so many places for so long. And as you try to dissect why this is still so, it's because people haven't had enough hope and confidence to believe we can do something better. I think hope is our superpower. Hope is the thing that gets you to stand up when others say, sit down, to speak up when others say, be quiet." Brian Stevenson traced his own fount of hope back to the lessons from his family and the legacy of their Black experience, and from their deep and courageous hope affirmed with the power of love. He contrasts this perspective with the callous and dehumanizing public policies that result when leaders lead from a place of fear and anger. He says, while there is much that we see which is dispiriting, it is essential to sustain our hopefulness, to face down injustices, as did those who came before us. So, hope is our superpower that gives us the stamina to pursue justice, which is nourished by the love and example of those who did this work before us. This resonates for me. I am by nature not an especially optimistic person. I often find it hard to lead with hope and love in working for social justice, but I see their power and I need them. What I've realized is that my way of staying in the work is to stay near those who have a firmer grip on these sustaining sources. Where do I find them? There are 3 sources I look to. First, to our church. At a time when a team of us at church became very weary in a long-haul justice project, we asked ourselves what was keeping us at the table as a way to rekindle our enthusiasm. I often recall the answer that Mary Lewis gave. She said, "Because this is my religion. If I give up on this work, I would be giving up my religion." Yeah. Our church, the gospel and practice of love and justice that are cultivated here, and our UU principles that declare their fundamental importance, are a major fount of hope for me. Second, to Isaac. In our work with this interfaith organization on justice efforts in our community, I often become discouraged and lose hope and cannot imagine how we can possibly find and reach a particular goal. That is when I look to Dr. Charlet, patiently, faithfully, lovingly persisting forward with certainty that we will find a way, not the way, a way that will emerge from those who are at the table, which she trusts will happen when the work is carried out in respectful and inclusive relationship, and nourished with her steadfast and determined faith and loving leadership. Over and over, I have seen a way open that I could not imagine or thought workable, and how we are able to move toward justice when this spirit of hope and love prevailed. Third is meditation, the source I work to cultivate when I'm alone. A practice called passage meditation from the Blue Mountain Center of Meditation, which coincidentally I learned about at a UUA General Assembly years ago. Like our own tradition, this approach borrows wisdom from the world's traditions as memorized passages for meditation, along with some other principles for daily practice. It's a very practical approach based on the old adage that we become what we meditate on. I sure hope so. This is a steady source of inspiration that helps me turn again and again from my ego-centered worry and doubt toward a more faithful, loving, and hopeful perspective. These are the sources I lean on to renew my hopefulness in this work of love and justice, which none of us can accomplish alone.
The second reading comes from the poem Choose to Bless the World by Rebecca Parker, a Unitarian Universalist minister. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up the wounds, welcome the stranger, do the work of justice, or offer love. You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping the faith. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that's another possibility waiting. This fine poem was used as an opener to a recent Social Justice Committee meeting, and I immediately liked it. Especially Ms. Parker's important question, what will you do with your gifts? Arriving at an answer to that question inspired me to try to write a short reflection on why I'm here at Peoples and why I'm a member of this committee. Apparently, I've been on a journey, one that was initiated by a strong early memory and reinforced along the way by a series of personal decisions and events. Let me explain. I grew up in the 1950s in Richmond, Virginia, the past capital of the old Confederacy. And our Unitarian church there was deeply involved in the integration controversy. I remember one noisy Sunday morning when members of our church had to walk through an angry crowd just to get to our building. I remember the yelling, the protective police, and the elderly Mrs. Reed hitting somebody with her purse. While I didn't comprehend the political details, I clearly understood the people of my church were standing up for racial equality in the face of real danger. And I was very proud to be among them. Much later, while in college, it was the Kiwanis Circle K Club that appealed to me more than fraternity life. This service club was student-run and available to all sorts of worthy causes, both on campus and off. Unfortunately, I enjoyed this busy community activity much more than the solitary pursuit of knowledge. As graduation drew near, our nation's largest employer came to campus offering careers in the armed forces. and introduced a new endeavor called the Peace Corps. I chose the latter, and it turned out to be a real life changer. I learned to teach in a little upcountry Liberian village, to exist in and often appreciate a culture far different from my own. I lived there almost 6 years, always trying to help with a minimum of talent and a maximum of enthusiasm. It was a wonderful experience. Finally, a return to the USA brought me to Western Michigan University for further purposeful education and a much better grade point average. My participation with the innovative but doomed open classroom concept gradually faded into a more routine teaching career. But thank goodness, I found the renewal I needed by joining People's Church with all its offerings of liberal religion and tempting social justice activities. I quickly joined the well-known Isaac and the lesser-known Center for Transformation, a support group for recently released parolees who need help navigating within their newfound freedom. So here I am on the Social Justice Coordinating Committee. Looking back, maybe there was a journey that guided me along with my desire to seek justice and be of service somehow. A journey begun probably in a Unitarian church long ago, and now concluding so happily in this one. Rebecca Parker's final words have real meaning for me as she ends her poem with some pretty good advice on how to live a life. She says, when you decide how to use your gifts, whatever they may be, your choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of faith. None of us alone can save the world, but together, that's another possibility waiting. What a wonderful, hopeful recipe for living a good life.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is panic all across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly, and may the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
Hi, my reading today is by Jessica York. She's the director of the Congregational Life at the UUA. This is not a prayer that you may find hope, for hope is a luxury that some cannot find and others cannot afford. This is not a prayer that you find more love in the world, though I hope you continue to feel love and send love to those near and far. I pray instead that you find tools, a hammer lying half hidden in the grass, a roll of duct tape curled up and forgotten on a high shelf in the back of the closet, a wrench poking out of the back pocket of a stranger. Take these tools and gird thyself, a hammer for justice, duct tape to hold together your broken heart, a wrench to grip and provide advantage in applying torque to turn objects or turn the world. Take these tools and others you may find in places expected and unexpected. Take these tools and gird thyself, for weeping may last through the night, but the work begins in the morning. As we heard in the reading today and from this poem, hope requires help from others and tools to accomplish it. So I would like to tell you about one of my tools. In the 70s, when I entered a room filled with people, I would silently say my mantra, I'm here and I'm queer. This was silent because saying it out loud would be dangerous. I could lose my job, my apartment. If I had children, I could lose them. I could be raped, beaten, or murdered because that would cure my problem, or at least make my attacker feel like they were protecting their tribe. My family might ostracize me, my community turn against me, and my church kick me out. If I were trans, there would be a good chance I'd end up in a mental hospital. And so I silently said my mantra, except for the joyous times protected by thousands that we shouted it during Pride Parade. But my mantra was my reminder. When I walked into a room full of people, I could hide. I could pass for something I wasn't. I was protected because there was no outward sign or mark on me proclaiming I was gay. And so I used my mantra to remind me to work for those who couldn't even get into the room. This was my tool to gird myself, as Jessica York requests. I was a minority, but I wasn't siloed. We all needed to work together because it wasn't right to leave others behind. We can't better ourselves by stepping on another's back. That's what I was taught, and that's what my mantra meant. 50 years later, still facing the same problems, but more hidden and therefore more insidious, I still say my mantra, I am here and I'm queer, silently to myself, hoping that someday it will not be necessary to remind myself to fight for all, for then I'll know we have reached equity. Thank you.
I'm going to do a responsive reading by Reinhold Niebuhr. And if you would like to respond, you will see that the response is in the yellow it's kind of italicized. So I'll read it for us. And if at home you'd like to do your response, that would be great. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. I'd like to begin by quoting a line from the preceding reading. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience and what I learned working with a team of volunteers from People's Church who helped to resettle a Syrian refugee family in Kalamazoo 5 years ago, and how the love that we individually and collectively gave to the Al-Tiara family helped to manifestly change their lives. If you have read the February newsletter, you know of the remarkable accomplishments that the Al-Tiara family has achieved. But first, the story of how the Al-Tiara family came to be refugees and ultimately settle in the United States. This may not be new for some of you, but I know that some of you may not have heard it. Hope was certainly a superpower for the Al-Tiara family. They experienced some of the most devastating violence that the Syrian civil war wrought. Early in the war, the family's neighborhood in the city of Homs came under fire, as Homs was one of the first Syrian cities to experience massive destruction. Khalid and Fatima fled with their 5 young sons to Damascus, looking for safety and shelter. Fortunately, they were able to rent an apartment near Damascus, near extended family, and Khalid was able to find work. Damascus, one of the oldest cities in the world, ultimately became a war zone as well. Food was scarce and very expensive, and the family often lived in fear for their lives. One day, while Khalid was at work, the neighborhood where the family lived came under fire. Fatima, at home alone with her sons, did not know the extent of the danger that she and the boys were in. Unbeknownst to her, nearly all the people in her building had already left. She did not hear from Khalid for several days, as the situation prevented him from being able to contact her. Finally, Khalid's boss was able to provide a construction truck for him to use so that he could rescue his family. The family literally left their apartment with the clothes on their back and without their shoes. They traveled to the border with Jordan and were able to cross when Khalid paid the necessary bribe money to the Syrian border guards. With bravery, determination, and hope, Khalid got his family safely to Jordan. Once in Jordan, the family was helped initially by the Jordanian government, and eventually they were able to find an apartment and jobs for Khalid and Mulham, who was 14 at the time. Khalid knew that his family did not have a good chance for much of a future in Jordan, because there were more than 1 million refugees who had also fled the civil war and were now living there. So with hope and abiding desire to provide a better future for his family, Khalid convinced Fatima that the family should apply to immigrate. The Al-Tiara family was very fortunate to be chosen to come to America. Only 12,587 refugees from Syria were admitted to the US in 2016. And of course, that dropped to almost 0 the following years. At People's Church, our desire to help was strong when we took on this resettlement project. I think all of us felt at times overwhelmed by the loss of life and the terror we were witnessing every day on the nightly news. We wanted to do something, however small, to help. In the spring of 2016, Bethany Christian Services and Samaritas, formerly the Lutheran Social Services, began resettling refugee families in the Kalamazoo area. More than 30 people attended an informational meeting at our church that spring and ultimately signed up to be on the resettlement team that we formed. It turned out to be a huge undertaking. We needed to find the family a suitable house that they could afford. We needed to furnish that house with everything they would need. We needed to find translators so we could communicate with the family. We needed to take all of the family members to many medical and dental appointments. We needed to find work for college. We needed to help the family navigate our educational system. But most of all, we needed to help the family feel safe and secure after having experienced such incredible trauma and upheaval. I personally learned so much from this experience. I learned that nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. I learned that commitments like this strengthen not only the family we were helping, but also the bonds of our church family. I learned we needed Bethany as the government contract resettlement agency with their experience and very competent caseworkers. And we needed a whole community of people and committee with many different skills. I learned that Kalamazoo community is very open and very welcoming. I learned that big things can result from taking on a commitment to help. Our own Nina Marion, who began as the education liaison for our Syrian family, pretty quickly began providing leadership for the formation of a whole new organization to help all the refugees resettling in Kalamazoo. That group became the Kalamazoo Refugee Resource Collaborative. I learned that love can light the way. Adhem, the family's oldest son, who many of you know, has told me that he has many grandmothers, at least 5 that I am aware of, American grandmothers. Adam has blossomed in America and has benefited from the opportunities afforded him by the virtue of the generosity of our country, our state, our community, and especially our church. I learned this is one of those very unusual situations where we get to see and experience the fruit of our collective efforts and love and celebrate the success of a new American family. We may find that with a new president and administration that more refugees will soon again be admitted to our country and some come to Southwest Michigan to find homes. I am hopeful that this will be the case and that our church will be ready to consider helping another family resettle and become new Americans too. Hope is definitely a superpower, and it is our superpower at People's Church.
Good morning, everyone. It's hard to believe in the sun in the dark of the night, and it's hard to believe in the stars in the bright morning lights. Well, we all need a place we can go to learn what is real, to ponder the depths of the soul where truth is revealed. Oh, this is our place. This is our home. Working and seeking, but never alone. In this mortar and stone, these windows and homes, love's earthly home, It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. It's hard to believe there is peace when war rages on. And it's hard to believe there is love in hate's raging throng. But for every brave soldier, a peacemaker takes their own stand. And for every soul long turned away, there waits a new hand. Oh, let it be. Let it be. Here in love's dwelling, we learn to believe in this mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, heeding call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. When a place is what welcomes you in, you little bit, you change it, so the promise of love can begin here in this room. Oh, here in these halls, hearts open wide, welcoming all. This mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, hitting the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're living out love, living out hope, living out change. Sing out for love, sing out for hope, sing out for change. Now I believe in the sun in the dark of the night.
These closing words. Hope, says Rabbi Ariel Berger, is a moral choice, choosing the practice of building our muscle to stay sensitive and continue to hold the feeling of responsibility without giving in to despair, so we can stay in the work of justice. As we go back into our communities and see much that is dispiriting, let us choose then to practice helping ourselves and each other to cultivate our superpower of hopefulness, as did those who came before us. And when we do, may we meet the challenge that Amanda Gordon offered in her prophetic inaugural poem and find that there is always light when we are brave enough to see it and we are brave enough to be it. May it be so, and amen.
Hearts open wide, welcoming all. This mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, hitting the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, dark of the night.
And now, go now in peace, go now in love. Remain online if you wish to automatically join a small group for discussion. Peace be with you.